From KPFK in Los Angeles, California, Valley Free Radio in Florence, Massachusetts, WNUC in Detroit, and BikeTalk.org worldwide, this is Bike Talk.
Bike Talk.
Welcome to Bike Talk. I'm Taylor Nichols.
And I'm Nick Richard.
Hey, let me say right off the bat that if our sound quality is not great, it's totally my fault because I'm in Linderland, North Dakota at a cyclists-only campground, and I'm just not sure how good the sound quality is going to be on my phone.
Well, I'm using my laptop mic, too.
Right. So, quality is number one here at Bike Talk.
You're at a campsite for...
Yeah, the whole trip has been highs and lows. And I'm camping, of course, and I'm camping in the wilderness also. But some of the towns, camping is better than staying in the motel options that they have. And that's the case here in Enderlin, which is in the eastern part of North Dakota. And it's really a precious little town. It's really nice. There's a railroad station and track right through the middle of town. And there's a cyclists-only campground park that's listed here with the adventure cycling. And I'm at the park camping, and I'm the only one here. And it's really beautiful. They have an awning for me to be under in case it rains and plenty of room for my tent and a bathroom nearby. So it's really comfortable. And I noticed on the sign when I entered into Enderlin, it says a cyclist-friendly town. And it certainly is that.
Have you seen cyclist-only campsites anywhere else?
Not only campsites, no, but I have seen cyclists-only hostels and places like that. Again, going back to this whole high and lows thing, on Sunday, it was Father's Day, and I was riding across North Dakota. And, I don't know if I was just lonely from, missing my family or what, but it was also really windy, and it was a headwind. And we've talked about how difficult those can be. And, I was riding from Napoleon, North Dakota to Gackle, Gackle. And it was only 40 miles. But Nick, I really struggled. There were hills and the wind was killing me and I was feeling sorry for myself. And all of a sudden, out of the blue, this biker comes the other way. He's going east to west, which is normally sort of against the wind. And I'm going west to east, which is normally with the wind. And this guy turns around and he starts riding with me for a little while, and we start talking, and he just lifted my spirits. And so I want to play this interview really quick. This is with Shane, and Shane has done multiple cross-country trips. He's really a great guy, and he gave me some great information, which I'll mention after this little interview. Yeah, I'm on day 36, and I'm dogging it a little bit because there's a headwind. And I run into a guy coming the other way, Shane. He started in, where'd you start?
I started over in Bar Harbor, Maine, 43 days ago.
So he's on day 43, and he was kind enough to turn around and ride with me. Shane, tell me a little bit about your ride, why you're doing it, where you're going.
Oh man, so I started doing this 3 years ago. I started on the southern tier of the Adventure Cycling Association routes. Then I did the Trans-America Trail last year, and I figured I'd have to do the northern tier this year. So, dude, you're a stud, man. Getting out there to finish them all, doing all the coast-to-coast routes that they have to offer. It's been going great so far. Getting some headwinds some days, tailwinds some days. Right now, you're fighting a pretty mean tailwind, or a headwind, but I'm getting a great tailwind out of it. So I figured I'd turn around and suffer with you for a little bit. Well, I got to tell you, you really picked up my spirits. I was, I've been averaging 60, 70 miles, and today I was only going to do 40. And I was dogging at 40, so. Yeah, I hear that, man. So yeah, I'm glad that I lifted your spirits up a bit. That makes me happy. But you just did a double century. Tell me about that. Oh, man. So started off at 3 in the morning the other day and just started going for it. By noon, I already had 100 miles in. And then I ended up finishing off the day at like 10 o'clock at night because I was just getting rained on all day. I stopped in the bathroom and ended up drying my clothes off with a hand dryer in the bathroom. And that was between what and what? So I started off in Wisconsin, and I ended up finishing 200 miles west. 200 miles later. I love that. Yeah, we were laughing earlier because the days really do blend in. You forget where you stayed a couple of nights ago. Yeah. Absolutely, yeah. I forget where I stayed 3 nights ago. Yeah. And you're traveling with your girlfriend. She's driving along with you? Yep, yeah, she's carrying bringing all the gear with her and making it a lot easier for me, not carrying 50 pounds on my bike like this maniac over here.
Where are you going? Are you going to Washington State?
Yeah, we're going to finish off a little bit above Seattle. Then we're going to end up driving down the coast a bit, but that's going to be the end of the bike trip.
Right, right. So she has a car, so you'll just get in the car and do a little bit of a car trip after that.
A little bit of car trip, go down to L.A., hang out in L.A. for a few days. We love
well, you got to reach me up when you get to L.A., man. Although I'm not going to be back until July 20th.
Oh, okay. Where are you finishing off at?
Well, I'm going to my dad's house.
Okay.
I started in San Francisco where my daughters live, and I'm riding to my dad in Michigan. And then my wife's going to fly in, and we'll spend a week there with my dad on Father's Day today. Awesome. And then we will fly back to L.A.
Amazing. Wow. Is this your first big trip like this?
Yeah, I've done a couple week-longers, but never anything this long.
What's your father think of this?
He's all for it. He's jazzed about it.
Good.
He's 101.
Wow.
And he's following me along, looking on the map, and so it's been a lot of fun.
That's awesome, man. I love to hear it.
What's your next trip after this one?
Oh, I don't have it planned yet, honestly. I think I might do something out of the country this time.
Yeah. Does your girlfriend bike at all or not?
I got her on the bike finally, but she's not really into the whole idea of going across the country.
Oh, motorcycle just buzzed by us. But she's into camping and all that.
Oh, yeah, she absolutely loves camping. She likes hiking. We have a little cattle dog with us that she does all kinds of trails with. Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Oh, that's great. Shane, man, you really boosted my spirits today.
I'm glad to.
Thanks so much.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Love to talk with you.
Nick, I got to tell you, Shane told me about this cyclists-only hostel in this little town of Gackle called the Honey Hut. I had seen it on the adventure cycling information, but I didn't really understand what it was. And Shane told me to go there. And sure enough, between Shane and the Honey Hut, it really raised my spirits. And the Honey Hut is Jason and Jenny Miller. And they have a house in this little town of Gackle, and they open their side part of their house to people that are cycling across the country. And they have a shower and laundry and a bed. I spoke with Jason, and he said that a couple of times they've had as many as 20 cyclists camped in their yard for a night or two while they cross the country. Not only that, Jason's father started this company called Honey Stingers. And it's energy food for athletes. And they have all this food there for you. And you take it with you when you leave. And so I have some Honey Stinger Chewies and some Honey Stinger wafers. And it's all made with the honey that they raise with their bees.
Oh, my God. To have all these bike touring things happen to you, is not totally coincidental. It's adventure cycling.
It's adventure cycling, putting the information out there. And then, the person riding has to grab onto it and use it. It's really nice, Nick, to come into a town like Enderlein and know that they have a sign that says this is a cycling-friendly town, and they have an area that says this is a cyclists-only campground. Because lots of times there's a little bit of trepidation when you ride into a town at 7 at night. And you don't know where you're going to stay. You don't know if there's going to be a campground or just a safe place for you to put your tent up or a safe motel even. I really appreciate, and I think all cyclists do, these kinds of things. So, Nick, going along with this highs and lows thing, this last stretch I just did was 75 miles of no services. And when something says no services, that means no bike shops, and that means no bike mechanics. And I'm still struggling with my left shifter. I've got integrated Shimano 105 shifters, and my left shifter is my front shifter, and it sticks. So I can't shift from the small chain ring to the big chain ring. So Jim Cadenhead is on the show to talk me through how to fix this. Jim, welcome back to Bike Talk. I don't know if you heard what my problem is. I went to a bike shop in Great Falls, North Dakota, and the guy looked at it and he changed my chain and things like that, but he didn't really fix this problem. And it's really a drag. I'm stuck in my small chain ring a lot of the time. Sometimes I can use both hands while I'm riding to shift the shifter to go into the big ring. But what's the problem, you think?
So this could be one of two things. Is it just really, really stiff and you just cannot move the shifter?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, there are times when I can't move it at all, but there are other times when I can really like force it to move the chain from the small chain ring to the big chain ring.
Some of the internals of the shifter may be gummed up and
Mhm.
you're having a hard time getting them to connect or getting them to free themselves. And that one can be something that is solved with penetrating lubricant. If you
Like
can,
like a WD-40, is that what you mean, or something like that?
WD-40 will definitely free things up, but it dries out and leaves nothing in its place when it's gone. That might be a good thing to use if you're in the middle of the nowhere and it's the only thing that's available.
Okay.
But generally, I would recommend something like Triflow or PB Blaster or a light lubricant, not like a heavier oil, more like something that you would use inside of a frozen lock or something
Right.
that
Okay.
the grease inside of shifters, when it gets old, it sometimes gets stuck and it will cause everything to gum up.
Okay. That sounds like that's what it could be. I mean, I have blisters on my hands a little bit from really having to force the shifter in. And sometimes I feel like the little release part of the shifter that brings it from the big chain ring to the small chain ring, sometimes I feel like I have to do that first a couple of times and then force the shifter. Does that make any sense?
That may actually be what it is the parts inside are spring-loaded flaps that catch pawls, right? They're pawls that catch ratchets. When they get really gummed up, they have a hard time making the connections and going through with the motion that they're supposed to. So something that can get in there and kind of break things down and then leave it lubricated keeps those things moving freely. One other thing that I would check might be that nothing is pinching your cable and that your cable head is sitting correctly where it's supposed to inside of the shifter.
Okay.
And that one can be a little bit harder to see because there are several different styles of cable heads and where they go in, several different entry points. One of the things that you really want to be careful about is making sure that your cable isn't under so much stress that the head snaps while you're out.
Oh, okay.
Fortunately, if it did, it would snap and it would leave your front derailleur in the low gear. The only reason I say fortunately is because there are times when you're climbing where
Totally. Where it's better to be in the low gear stuck than the high gear stuck. Totally.
Yes.
Well,
So,
Jim, this is really helpful. I'm in an area now where I think I can get some lubricant and put it in tomorrow morning. And then tomorrow night, I should be in Fargo, which means the next day I'll be able to find a bike shop if the lubricant doesn't work.
that sounds like a good idea.
Yeah.
If you can find some, I would get a little bit of help figuring out where the head of your derailleur cable is and just making sure that the derailleur cable itself looks like it's still in good condition.
Okay, I can do that, I think, on my own. But tomorrow I'll be able to, if not tomorrow, the next day, go to a bike shop and have someone look at it who is better than me on the bike.
Well, I'm really stoked to hear about your trip, and I'm very, very glad that somebody's out there enjoying the best of the summer.
I have been so far. Jim Cadenhead of Battle Road Bikes in Boston, Massachusetts. Thanks again, man.
Thank you. Good to see you.
Absolutely. Good to see you, man. Your beard looks great, dude.
Yeah, you're working on one too.
Yeah, a little bit, but mine's gray. Yours is red.
Yeah, well, we'll see how long that lasts.
Not much longer, probably.
Have a great
Thanks,
one.
Jim.
Thanks, Jim. Always good to hear Jim from Battle
Yeah.
Road. We got some listener emails.
Great.
Michael O'Connor said, please let Taylor know that I really appreciate him sharing his journey with all of us and for inspiring people to choose challenges and adventures at any age.
That's great, man. Thank you, Michael. Really nice.
Baltimore Fred wrote in again. He says, I love your interviews. Whether the subjects are locals you encounter or experts in some area, you make me feel like I'm a part of a personal conversation. By the way, I do not know how you put things together while still doing the cycling.
You know how I do that, Baltimore Fred, is Nick. Nick does that.
And then there's another one. Are you still sending stickers? I just wrote a review for you guys. Keep up the amazing work, Drew. And his review was, thank you for making the world a better place. Appreciate the stories, insights, and updates.
Great. We'll definitely send you stickers, Drew. That's one of the fun things is I've been giving out some stickers to the people that I meet along the trip also.
And you've been putting them up on signs, right?
Yeah. You know how when you get to a new state and it says, you are now entering Oregon, you are now entering Montana, you're now entering North Dakota. I've been leaving a little Bike Talk sticker on each one of those signs. For future cyclists, know that Bike Talk has been there.
Yeah.
I'm Stacy with this week's news. An NYPD officer drove his squad car into a protected bike lane in downtown Brooklyn, injuring a cyclist who had the light and was clearly in the well-demarcated cycle track. The officer claimed the cyclist came out of nowhere. The cyclist asked the officer to apologize for hitting him, to which he responded, "I would, but I don't like your attitude." Following up from a story last month by LAist, the state of California will not consider the city of Los Angeles' request for a time extension on 3 mobility projects in underinvested communities that are largely funded by more than $100 million from the state. The exclusion of the request from the California Transportation Commission's June agenda spells an uncertain fate for the projects in Boyle Heights, Skid Row, and Wilmington, which involve repairing sidewalks, adding bike lanes, and installing traffic calming measures. Soccer has the World Cup, and mountain biking has the UCI Mountain Bike World Cup, a premier global mountain bike racing championship that unifies all major mountain biking disciplines into a single calendar, including cross-country, downhill, and enduro mountain biking. Individual points are tracked all season before crowning the ultimate World Cup champions. This year it started in May in Korea and has 10 stops across Europe over the summer until it arrives for the last 3 events in North America, concluding the first weekend in October in Lake Placid, New York. The USA-Australia World Cup match held in Seattle smashed ridership records for Lime, the e-bike and e-scooter rental company. Lime announced that it tracked more than 83,000 trips in Seattle on Friday. That's the most rides they've ever registered in Seattle, smashing the record by about 40%, which had been set when they had about 60,000 rides for the Seattle Seahawks Super Bowl parade in February.
And, I want to add to the news, Nick. The New York Times reported something that we've been talking about for years, that the size of vehicles is creating more carnage on our roads. As trucks and SUVs get bigger front hoods, they're killing more people. And I'm glad that the New York Times is finally reporting this because, as I just said, we've been talking about it for, years. But unfortunately, not everybody listens to Bike Talk.
Yeah. And another piece of news is that Cyclovias happened this Sunday in LA, big open streets event, co-founded by Joe Linton, among others, who we had in our Open Streets panel last week. Joe and Streets Blog LA hosted a race, and we have the results.
This was a race of the new D-Line subway in Los Angeles. From Beverly Hills to downtown, you could take the D-Line subway. You could drive a car or ride a bike, and the winner is
the subway.
It was the D-Line,
which was my second favorite to win. My first favorite came in third, but
but only by minutes. This next interview, Nick, is one that you have about bike lanes and how important they are. And I have been riding, being separated from moving traffic by just a strip of paint. And we know that protected bike lanes are a game changer.
The study just came out about the effect of bike lanes being added in New York City on ridership. And this was done near City Bike docks. And it's by Marcel Moran. And I talked to Marcel.
Marcel is assistant professor in city planning at San Jose State and co-authored a study called Heterogeneous Impacts of Protected Bike Lanes on Bikeshare Behavior Across Demographic Groups in New York. Thanks for coming on.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
Near City Bike docks, there was an increase in ridership where protected bike lanes were put, right?
Yeah, so the context that we wanted to study, this was my colleagues, Malik Salman and Takahiro Yabe. What we wanted to study was 2 things are happening in New York City in terms of bikes. One is the city bike program has grown a lot. There's more stations, there's more bikes. A lot of those bikes are electrified. And the bike network in New York City has grown really dramatically over the last decade. And so we wanted to see if we could analyze those 2 changes at the same time and understand if there's growth in bike share trips based on where those stations are in relation to bike lanes. So that's the big picture. So we're linking together the locations of the bike share stations on City Bike with the bike lanes that New York City has been building. And we know the date that all of those bike lane segments have gone in. And so broadly, what we did was we looked at the 12 months before a bike lane went in and the 12 months after the City Bike ridership at each of those stations. And so what we found is that for the City Bike stations next to protected bike lanes, there was this 18% growth in trips after a protected bike lane went in. And for painted bike lanes and for sharrows, that was a much smaller percentage. What's really interesting is we didn't stop there to say, okay, there's more growth in protected bike lanes. What we did is say, what if we zoom in closer to these stations and compare like with like? So we do this kind of matching where we compare a bike share station that has a bike lane next to it, protected or painted, and a really similar bike share station that doesn't have any bike lane at all. And when I say really similar, I mean in terms of the surrounding demographics and the density. So we're really comparing like with like. And then we say, well, what happens before and after a bike lane went in of different kinds versus nothing went in to the pair? This is what's really interesting about this study is we found that only the addition of a protected bike lane led to a causal increase in bike share trips in that scenario. So when you do this kind of more sophisticated comparison, you don't see actually growth for painted bike lanes and for sharrows. For us, that really means when we're communicating these findings to the practitioners hard at work in the field of transportation planning, that really the best bang for your buck is with protected bike lanes.
So this is all helping to get more protected bike lanes in New York City, other places.
When you think about these departments, great staff trying to make their cities better, they have a fixed budget, right, for this kind of infrastructure. And so one of the things we hope that this kind of study can point to is to say, if you have a limited budget and other kinds of constraints on what you can build, to really focus on building bike infrastructure that's protected. We know from this study and a range of others that that's how you grow ridership, and it's also how you diversify bike ridership. One of the interesting things we found for our study is we also looked at the kind of age of people that lived in these places, these parts of New York City, and we found that the effect of protected bike lanes on bike share ridership was most pronounced in the census tracts that had the highest percentage of older adults. So that really points us to think, if you think of a demographic that's very safety sensitive for logical reasons, that this is really something you can do to increase people biking across the lifespan, which is what we want.
How do you come to this? You research bikes and pedestrians and transit. How did this become your field?
It's a great question. I think that we're at this incredibly exciting time in the history of cities around the world. There's so much experimentation. There's new streams of data to understand what's happening. And there's really severe challenges in terms of air quality, climate adaptation, building equitable, vibrant cities. We've had all these kinds of shocks to urban systems like COVID. We have real housing crises. We have a lot of problems with increasing climate change and that effect on urban heat islands. So the need to build cities that are more sustainable and livable and vibrant is just really present. I think transportation is one of the levers to improve cities in all those types of ways. And I think that what's exciting about studying bikes, along with pedestrian issues and transit, is that what we're asking for, what we're pointing to in this kind of paper, what advocates might be fighting for, is really low tech, right? We're talking about dedicated space on the roadway for one of the older transportation types around, right? We've had bikes in American cities since the 1800s. And so I think what's so exciting about this is we talk about reclaiming space on the street for bicycles, because there was a period of time when there was obviously bicycle traffic before automobile traffic. And so now we're in this exciting part of the 21st century where cities are doing just that. New York City is building an expansive and really ambitious bike lane network, as are cities around the world. I'm based in Paris right now, which is another example of a city hall that has moved really ambitiously on their bike lane network before and really accelerated during the years of COVID and post-COVID, such that you're seeing dramatic increases in volume of biking around the French capital.
You're in Paris now.
Yeah, I've been here for a few weeks as part of a funded project from the French Embassy in the United States and the Albertine Foundation. Paris is doing a number of really exciting things in the public realm. People maybe saw this who traveled here for the Olympics or at other times, but in the last 10 years, Paris has expanded its bike lane network, particularly protected bike lanes, such that so many of these kind of famous boulevards people may know now on the sides of them, between the curb and the travel way for cars, are these protected, often bi-directional bike lanes. There's fine attention to detail, protected intersections for cyclists. There's cycling signalization. So meaning at traffic lights, there's a light there for the cyclists. There's all kinds of little pieces of this. Bike parking is ubiquitous. There's an expansive bike share program called Velib, which is one of the kind of oldest and most prominent in the world. They've added in dockless bike share from companies like Lime. So it's this incredible mix of pro-biking policies that has led to this real renaissance of biking in Paris.
Is that the model then? It's a lot of investment and public investment. And how much of it is kind of inevitable as we come to the end of is the oil going to run out?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question. I don't think it's politically inevitable. I think there's a lot of forces in these types of cities and elsewhere that push back against this. We've had a century of car-centric planning in Western cities that has led to the primary use of the streets is for car parking and for car driving. And it's very difficult to pull that back for all other kinds of more sustainable uses. I think that the best approach for cities halls is to see this as an incremental project, that bike lanes that are of high quality lead to more people biking, which leads to more demand for better infrastructure. And so you get this virtuous cycle of more cyclists that then support more cycling lanes, that then bring even more people out onto the street on two wheels. And so I think that cycling activism, cycling advocacy in city halls, I think there's this technical work of people in planning departments and design and the landscaping. There's the kind of academic work to show the benefits in terms of improved quality of life in these places and the demographics that are bringing people out onto the street. So I think there's a lot of different roles to play. It's not inevitable in terms of the kind of forces that support car use.
So we got to keep pushing.
Absolutely keep pushing. I think the best thing is there's a lot of examples of what really frustrates people in the bike world of what's not working. I understand that frustration. I've lived that in places that I've lived and biked. I think that it can be really important to remember the aspirational kind of experiences of when biking in cities really works. Seeing that happen in New York City, seeing that become an increasingly pro-bike city, seeing that happen in places like Paris, seeing Mexico City close a major thoroughfare every Sunday for ciclovia, where you have tens of thousands of people biking. I think we have to remember that there's positive stories happening around the globe that can give us the hope to keep going.
Thanks, Marcel Moran. You just this month put out your study, Heterogeneous Impacts of Protected Bike Lanes on Bike Share Behavior across demographic groups in New York.
That was really fun. I enjoyed the conversation. I love that you guys are fighting the good fight. These papers don't often get into the public discourse for lots of different reasons. So for us, any chance to share the work and get in front of your listeners, that's super exciting.
Anything else we should be reading besides your paper?
Oh, it's such a good question. What Cambridge, Mass has done in terms of public policy is not getting as much attention as I think it should. So they have this new kind of part of their public policy where if a street is repaved or modified in a certain way, they build in a cycle lane, a bike lane into that process. So they're like, if we're going to rip up the street for fixing the water main or replacing utilities or things that's the moment we're also going to add a bike lane to it. West Hollywood, I think, has also had this kind of policy where they're like, if we're going to fix a street for one thing, let's also fix it for bikes. I have just not seen that policy spread that much, but to me, it's logical and efficient and is the type of thing of it kind of cuts through some of the bureaucratic red tape that can hold up bike projects.
There was the ballot measure for Los Angeles, Healthy Streets LA.
Yeah, that's right.
But Metro, it's the semi-private Department of Transportation for Los Angeles, they don't support it. So it's dragging their feet.
It's I spent time in LA living in California so long. It's so fragmented because so much of it is not actually LA, right? And you're seeing really cool things happening with downtown LA, obviously in Santa Monica, but I'd be super curious to explore that more and see what's going on.
All right. We'll be in touch.
Yeah, thanks so much. I really appreciate the time.
To me, Nick, it's common sense. If you have a protected bike lane, people will use it if there is a city bike dock right there. It just makes sense.
Well, on that topic, we have a bill in California called Preserving Safe Bikeways, SB 569, sponsored by CalBike. It would make it harder to take out protected bike lanes than it is now.
Right. If you have to work years to put a bike lane in, you should have to work years to take it out.
At least a little more than now.
Right.
Than an angry city council presentation.
Right. Yeah. Just someone speaking at a city council meeting. It's really crazy. The loudest voices often get heard. So,
well, here's one of the quiet voices that is about legislation to change that. This is Andrew Wright.
Great.
This is Andrew Wright, Director of Communications at CalBike. CalBike is sponsoring a bill. It's called Preserving Safe Bikeways, SB 569. It's going through the California State Senate.
Yeah, we're very excited about it. Very excited to be on the front foot of bike advocacy. The idea is that once a bikeway is put in and all the hard work that advocates have gone through to get it installed and built, once they've made that investment in safer streets, bikeways can't be removed without due process, without a safety analysis, accountability, and an understanding of the risks on the roadway for all users.
Some of the language from your press release: streets are living public spaces and good planning requires adjustment. But when a local agency proposes to remove safety infrastructure that people already rely on, the public deserves a serious process. The agency should have to demonstrate that removal will not increase risk for people biking, walking, and rolling. It should have to consider network connectivity. It should have to account for the people who will be displaced onto other routes. And it should have to do all of that in public. That just seems so responsive to the issue that we're having, where these bike lanes take years to put in, and then after a few emails or something, they get taken out.
Yeah, and in some ways, we're introducing a very low bar. Some people will see this as red tape, but this is just the same standard that's held when a new bikeway is put in. I think of some advocates we talked to in the Silicon Valley area in Sunnyvale who had a half-mile project on what was called Hollenbeck Ave that they took a decade of knocking on every single door up and down a street. These are just volunteers, making sure that they got just mountains of input. And the fact that it can be undone off of hearsay and, a lack of analysis, that people who, have put in a lot of work to get something built, it should not be so easy. The lever to take it off should be just as hard to pull as the one to put it on.
Yeah, it's like we have to fight forever, it seems, to get something done. And then it can be undone without any of that. The opponents don't have to go through nearly as much work.
To be generous to their perspective, what I often think I am hearing is just a resistance to change, that their roadway has looked a certain way. If you put different trees out there, they would be having some sort of negative response. For whatever reason, bikeways in their eyes look like a sticker you can take off. And it clearly has taken more work and thought than that. And, we're standing up for the city engineers that we're seeing all over California who are doing a much better job having this vision and helping them as well, just to be able to preserve their work.
So this would just put a process in place that has to be gone through before a bikeway or a bike lane can be taken out.
Yeah, just a standard process, safety analysis, many of them that we think are already best practices and that we see being done throughout the state anyway. But it would just have some standard steps you would need to go through. You would need the public to want it to come down. You would need planners to have an alternate vision. It would be on top of a few other steps, yes.
Did it take much doing to get this sponsored by a state senator?
Having a champion that we have in Catherine Blakespear in the state Senate is definitely a huge help. It's always helpful to have a champion as strong as Catherine Blakespear that we have on this bill and SB 1167, our e-bike bill this year. It just feels so good to be proactive. This year, so many of our bills are in response to something else. This is getting ahead of something, which amid everything this year feels great.
Yeah. Thanks for doing it. CalBike, you keep showing why our membership dues are worth paying.
Thanks, Nick. Have a good day.
Next is that interview we did with Patrick Kelly.
We've been talking about my trip. Patrick Kelly did a TV show called RollingThru about a bike trip that he did in New York State. Ladies and gentlemen, Patrick Kelly from PBS's RollingThru is on. Hey, Patrick.
Hello. How are you? Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's great to have you here, man. Nick and I were talking just before you came on about your show. It's such a cool idea. How long has it been on? And is it a one-off thing doing the New York Trail, or are you ongoing?
We're actually in pre-production on our second season right now. Our first season just completed its premiere at the beginning of the month. So June 5th was our last episode, and we did a 10-episode run for our first season. And that first season focuses on climate solutions across New York State. And we rode from Buffalo all the way to Brooklyn. We did about an episode in each city, essentially. So we did Buffalo, Rochester, the Finger Lakes, Syracuse, Utica, Albany, the Hudson Valley for a couple episodes. And then the 10th episode is our finale when we arrive to New York City.
Yeah, I saw that. That was great. And you're riding the whole way, right?
Yeah, so I ride my old All-City Space Horse. I think it's a 2019. I bought it purely because I just love the look of it. And we ended up modeling the graphics of the show based on the paint scheme of the bicycle.
Love that.
So for bike nerds, the whole show is modeled after the look of my bike. But I got the idea for the show when the Empire State Trail opened that year, 2021. I was living in Brooklyn at the time, and I took the train to Buffalo and stayed with my brother, and then biked all the way back to Brooklyn over 9 days. And while I was biking, I thought, oh, this would be a really cool travel documentary. A few years later, I ended up moving upstate New York and got a job at the PBS station in Buffalo. When we were going through rescission, if listeners don't know, the federal government rescinded all federal funds from the public media system. So the Corporation for Public Broadcasting was closed. We lost $2 million in our operating revenue, and they were asking for any ideas that people had that could be done on the cheap. And, I was like, hey, a bike is free to ride. What if I took some GoPros and went off? And we, were able to get a little bit of money for it. We got some grant funding from the state. All New York State stations got funding to promote climate change programming in several different ways. So when we had gotten the funding for that, we thought, oh man, this idea for this little bicycle travel show I had would fit perfectly because it's a very climate friendly form of transportation. And I can use it as a literal vehicle to talk about all these other climate solutions. We figured let's just bike to every single segment and show the reality of a travel show. One thing I really wanted to do to kick off the series, and this season in particular, was to show how a bicycle shows an honest form of transportation in a way, or an honest way to travel that other travel shows kind of hide. And if we're going to take the format of a traditional travel show, the travel segment, and then we do a segment on a local culture or cuisine or whatever, let's show how to get there. And you do it by bike, so you're battling the elements. You have to overcome mechanicals if your bike breaks. A lot of travel shows, that happens behind the scenes, and you don't get to see that, where, oh, we have an extra support car, or we have our travel van. If it's raining, we'll just wait till the sunny day to film. So you get this rose-colored view of travel when you watch a regular travel show. And for us, we were saying, no, that's part of the adventure. We're going to make an adventure travel show. We're going to battle the elements. We're going to battle whatever comes our way. If we have to get to a segment on time and we're running late, we have to literally race against the clock like we are against climate change. So there's a lot of cool parallels, and we thought that would be a really fun way to position the show.
Patrick, I'm on a cross-country bike trip right now. I'm in North Dakota, and I'm having to fight traffic a lot. And I noticed on your show, it seemed like you were on bicycle paths most of the way. That's such a great thing, because that means anybody can ride the bike, not just people who are stupid enough or brave enough, whatever you want to call it, to, wrestle with traffic.
Part of the reason we chose New York State was because I think it's the longest continuous bike path in America. The Empire State Trail, it's almost like a T where it runs from Buffalo to Albany, and then it connects with the trail that runs down to New York City, but you can go up north to Montreal through the Adirondacks. And that segment from Albany to Montreal, that is on road, I believe. So we thought, let's just focus on Buffalo to Albany, Albany to New York City, and 90% of that is on a dedicated bike trail where you don't have to compete with cars. The other reason was the first season, I wanted to specifically focus also on getting people out on bikes. So a lot of the series in each city, we go on I organized group bike rides where I reached out to bike clubs and groups that did weekly rides in different cities. And I said, hey, I'm going to be in town this day. Would you guys want to organize a special ride to come out with us? We could show that in the show. That way, in case anybody was, semi-interested in a bike, or they're getting into bicycles with an e-bike and they're not really comfortable riding with cars, which is completely fair. This amenity in New York State connects all of us across the entire state. It allows you to go for as long as you really want to without having to deal with cars, and you can stop in these little towns along the canal. Every 5-10 miles there's a little canal town, and they have great cafes, they have great restaurants, so you can go and support your local economy. You don't have to go all the way across the state if you don't want, but it gives you the option for as far as you want to get into cycling as you want. And we thought that this was a great entry point for that.
And when you say canal, you're talking about the Erie Canal, because the path goes along the Erie Canal, correct?
Yes. When you go from Buffalo to Syracuse, it runs along the newer Erie Canal, which is the barge canal. It's used primarily for recreation at this point. Boats going across the state. You can get to the Great Lakes from it. They do use it for a little bit of freight, a small amount. The trail dips off the barge canal at Syracuse heading east, and then you're on the old original Erie Canal, which was dug by hand. It's only 4 feet deep. It almost seems like a swamp that looks somewhat man-made, but it's cool because you're riding on a piece of history. So that follows all the way until about Utica and just beyond. And then you link back up with the modern Erie Canal, and that follows where it mixes with the Mohawk River all the way to Albany. And the outlet there is the Hudson River. And then the trail runs south from there, and it snakes across, back and forth across the Hudson River all the way downstate. So I think you cross over twice. There's like two bridge crossings.
I'm noticing on my trip how cyclists do add to the local economy in a lot of these small little towns that I'm going through in the West. And I think it's probably true in New York too. Is that the case, that they are starting to cater to cyclists who are on those trails?
Yeah, it really has become this micro economy that's popped up. And anecdotally, I can back it up just by the signs that you'll see when you pull into town. They'll have hand-painted signs that say cyclists wanted, and fill up your water bottles here, and get some candy, whatever. But I talked in the show, I think it's episode 7 or episode 8. I spoke with Dylan from Parks and Trails New York. They're an organization that works to get parks and trails developed with New York State Parks. Awesome nonprofit, but they just did this landmark study to find out how much revenue is generated from the opening of the Empire State Trails. The study was just released, I think, like last week, and it's estimated $1.8 billion that it's changed hands for the local economy across New York State with this. It might not be bike touring where they're going on multi-day tours like you're doing right now, but it is just people who go out on a nice Saturday afternoon. It's 75 degrees, it's sunny, let's bike down a couple miles and get an ice cream. Something as small as that, you extrapolate that out to many people doing that, it's a real revenue driver for local economies.
How many people do you have on your crew? How many people were biking with you? How many cameras? It actually looked really great. It's a well-produced show.
Thank you. We were limited with our crew. It very much was a labor of love. It was me as the host, but I also acted as camera operator occasionally. My longtime colleague, Greg Addison, he's a great cinematographer and videographer. He's an endurance athlete, and I needed somebody who was able to bike
And shoot, right?
He had an e-bike to make it a little easier because he had a lot more gear on his bike, but I needed somebody that could bike with me and also film, and we would be doing 12-hour days, 14-hour days because we had the sun for as long as we did. So we were the two primary crew people. We had an associate producer and a support car in case anything crazy happened. If we had to make a segment and there was lightning nearby, we were going to get ready to get in the support car. Fortunately, that didn't actually end up happening the whole time we were on the trip, and that was more so for liability reasons. But we really relied on the public media system for our support. So I reached out to each member station across New York State and I said, listen, we're doing this thing, we're making this show, but we don't have a videographer dedicated other than me and Greg. So if you're willing and able, could you dedicate some production support when we're in your area, and then we can collaborate in different ways? They all said yes. So when we were in the Rochester area for a couple days, we had somebody come out from XXI. When we were in Syracuse, someone from CNY came out, and we did that all the way across New York State. Some of the stations ended up using some of that climate change grant for the videographer because they were going, it's for this production, so we can do that way. But in a moment when public media was in crisis, we were able to really support each other and come together and say, we're trying to make this show happen. We want to lean on each other. So it was a really cool production model that, when we would bike in, we were meeting videographers that we had never worked with, but still working with the same system. So that was really cool.
Your whole show, or the first season, is a promotion of this Empire State Bike Lane, which I was really excited about. And I was wondering, is it safe for, like, if I wanted to ride a segment and go bike packing along it, and I have a 7-year-old daughter, does it like spit you out on roads with cars?
No, so there's only one section on the Erie Canal that you'd be mixed with cars, and that's in Wayne County. It's actually funny, it's the county I grew up in New York State. There's only one section for about 10 miles that you're on road where you have to mix with cars. Other than that, across the state, at least the Erie Canal portion, Buffalo to Albany is about 95% just on a dedicated trail. And when you say, if I wanted to go with my 7-year-old daughter, it's funny you say that. The first time I had done this trip, I had met a guy who was riding from Albany to Buffalo with his 4-year-old daughter. He had a cargo bike, and it was like a little mobile living room set up in the back for her. And he was riding, and she had toys. Like, they had all their bags like packed up on it. But he said, I had a week off, and she loves going on bike rides with me. So we're camping across the state. And the other cool thing about the canal trail is when you go to each lock, and those are essentially boat elevators, if people don't know what a lock is for a canal. Sure. They're owned by the Canal Corporation in the state, and they allow camping at each lock for 2 days maximum. So if you're bike touring and you want to just wild camp the whole time, you don't have to pay for a campsite. You can just pull into a lock, set up your tent. They have amenities, they have bathrooms. Some of the places have showers, not all of them, but you can stop for a couple days, stay there, go to the local town, and camp your way across the state if you didn't want to stay in hotels or motels.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
One last question, Patrick. You said the first season was about climate change. What's going to be the focus of the second season, and where are you going to ride?
So our station, we're known as Buffalo Toronto Public Media, our company. So we're a binational cross-border PBS station. And for our second season, we want to focus in on our Canadian audience. So we're going to go Toronto as our starting point because we started in Buffalo as the first season, and we thought, in our name, let's start in Toronto. There's a bike trail, Trans-Canada Trail, and there's a segment that runs from Toronto to Montreal. So we're going to bike from Toronto to Montreal, and we're going to focus on Canadian identity. Partially, it's a personal thing for me. So this past year, I found out that I have a great-grandparent on both sides of my family, on my mom's side and my dad's side. I have 2 great-grandparents that were born in Canada, and based on the new Canadian law, I'm what's considered a long-lost Canadian. So I'm in the process of trying for dual citizenship, but I am what Canadians consider a long-lost Canadian. So I'm an adult. I found out I'm this whole new part of me. I'm Canadian. I don't know what that means. So I want Canadians to show me what that is. And what does it mean to be Canadian, and what is Canadian identity? Because it's one of the most diverse nations on the planet. There are all different types of Canadians. And also at this moment, I think it's important to reiterate that Canada is a sovereign nation with its own customs and its own identity, and we need to really respect that and champion that. So I thought, what better way than use the second season of our show to tell Canadian stories? We're aiming for September, and we're hoping for a spring release next year. And I think we're only going to do 7 episodes, so a little bit shorter of a season, but yeah, really focus in on Canadian culture.
Well, that sounds great. I think this is a very important time to differentiate between the United States and Canada and what it means to be Canadian and what it means to be an American. Patrick Kelly, the show is Rolling Through. Can you tell the audience where they can find it, where they can see it? Is it only in the Buffalo station? Because I saw it online.
It's a digital first show. We made it with a digital audience in mind. So you can go to YouTube and watch it first across any border, across any nation. You can get it anywhere globally on YouTube, or you can just search Rolling Through PBS on Google, and it should be the first thing that pops up.
Patrick Kelly, thanks, man. Thanks for doing the show, and thanks for coming on Bike Talk.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
Very exciting.
I think his second season sounds really interesting about what it means to be Canadian, what it means to be American. So, Nick, before we end, I want to play one more interview from the trip. One of the fun things is the people that you meet along the way, and some of them you meet more than once. And this is Kay again. She is continuing on. She is just a nonstop. She's an Energizer bunny.
Last night I rolled into, I'm not even sure we call it a town, but a spot on the map called Sand Springs. And I see a bike that I recognize, and it happens to be Kay's bike. And Kay, we meet up again. How are you?
Fine. This has been fantastic to meet up with old friends.
Yeah, we even called Mark on the phone this morning and did a little chat with him.
Yeah, Mark doesn't know what he's missing. All these headwinds out here and tailwinds and side winds. It's just been fun.
Well, tell me, how are you doing? Because I got to tell you, some of these climbs are hard and some of the wind is tough. And I weigh about 155, and I'm guessing you come in about 110. And so how is it on your bike in this kind of conditions?
Well, it's a little rough. Yesterday, I thought I was going to be eating some pavement because of the wind blowing me over, and it was hard to hang on. And so when I got to a rest area, I found a ride, to the destination here.
Well, we've been talking a lot on the show about how that's one of the things you do on a trip like this is you rely on the kindness of strangers, as Blanche Dubois would say.
I have not met a person that I've talked to that has been somebody I feared or didn't agree with. Yeah. I mean, they've just been fantastic people.
Yeah. Kay did this ride in 1976 when she was 21. What's the biggest difference you notice from 1976 to 2026?
The amount of traffic.
Yeah.
Of course, in 76, I did not have to have my own bags with me.
Oh, you were supported. I didn't realize
Right,
that.
we're totally supported. So that was the difference in the bike ride where it was just you and the bike.
Right. Well, you're playing the game well because when I got here last night and set up my tent, you were already in a mobile home. How did that work out?
Oh, fantastic. It was nice to not have to set up your tent in this wind and having a comfy bed to sleep in.
And it was through warm showers, right?
Yes, exactly. Warm Showers has been a great organization.
Yeah. I've not used it yet. You're just going online and finding someone in the next town that you're going to go to?
Yes, I try to plan that because you don't necessarily find a camping spot.
Right.
And out here in eastern Montana, there's not very many places to hide.
No, you're totally right. And there's so much private land that it seems like it's really difficult to find a place to camp. I've had to camp in city parks and things like that allow camping. It's not like I'm stealing, the night there, but it is a little bit different from Oregon and maybe California.
I have been told, honestly, here that if you ever get in a bind, just go down the road and ask a rancher for help.
Right.
That they will help you no matter what.
Yeah. Well, it certainly seems like they have been and they will. But lots of times there's not even ranches around.
Well, I guess that's when we go get to sleep with the cattle.
Well, Kay, I don't know that I'll see you again. But it's been really a treat to see you this morning. And you gave me pizza from your pizza last night. So that was my breakfast.
Yeah, this is a little small store, but they do have some food there that keeps you going, and they're very nice people.
Yeah, they were really sweet.
You know, Taylor, I hope to see you somewhere down the road. Yeah. Maybe not on this trip, but some other.
Absolutely. And tell us one more time what your charity is.
Food for Thought, New Hampshire. My website is KAYBIKES, bikes, for the number 4 kids, right. KIDS.com.
And that's to raise money to get kids to have enough food when they're out of school and stuff like that.
Right, for the weekends, and try to give them a little bit bigger package when there's vacation.
Right, so that's KBikesForKids.com. Kay, thanks a lot.
Thank you.
You mentioned you keep meeting the same people.
Well, she has struggled in a couple of places and had to get a ride either over a pass or over a section of road that is not really safe to ride on because of the amount of traffic. So she leapfrogs in front of me, and then I catch her, and then she leapfrogs in front of me, and then I catch her again. And she's just so sweet and is really doing a wonderful job.
And you too.
Next week, I'm hoping to be in Minneapolis.
Where you're going to meet up with some of our guests from past.
Laura Mitchell and Brett McGraw are hoping to come on the show, hopefully, and talk to them. And they're going to help me out a little bit, I think.
Great. And that's the show. We want to thank Patrick Kelly of the PBS show RollingThru, Marcel Moran and his study on bike lanes, Andrew Wright from Cowbike, Shane K,
Jim Cadenhead, Jim C. And of course, we want to thank all of our regulars, Julie Richard, Josh Hagland, Kevin Burton, Amy Ziering, Lindsay Sturman, and Stacy Randecker.
You got a quote?
Enderlin is a bicycle-friendly town. How's that?
That's not really a quote. It's a bike thought.
It's a bike thought.
Thanks, Taylor.
Ride safe.
You ride safe.
Thank you.
This episode of Bike Talk is sponsored by the law offices of Pocras and De Los Reyes, with offices in Los Angeles and Bakersfield and serving all of Southern California.
Bike Talk is a project of CRSP and the Los Angeles Eco-Village Institute. And that was Bike Talk. If you have a story, a tip, or a topic, head over to biketalk.org and send us a message. Talk again next week.
Oh, get that car out of my way. I want to ride my bike today. It keeps me fit, gets me there. I won't go stinking up the air. Leave behind the daily grind. Let your mind unwind. Live its life, pretend to life. Better get yourself a bike. Get on your bike, sit on the seat, put your feet on the pedal, and run all around, run all around. Get on your bike, sit on the seat, put your feet on the pedal, and run all around, run all around. Get that car out of my way, I wanna ride my bike today. It keeps me fit, gets me there, I won't go stinking up the air. Leave behind the daily grind, let your mind unwind. Live its life, pretend to life, better get yourself a bike. Get yourself a bike. Oh, 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 get yourself a bike.